Well, good morning.
Good morning.
So, guy was out for his, walk in the park. He was going fine. The park was kind of empty. It was really early in the morning. And then things got really quiet. Everything got quiet. It's like the birds stopped singing, the squirrels stopped chattering. There was a very special silence that had fallen over this area. And he looked back. And there on the path behind him was a bear. Just a giant 8-foot bear. And the thing starts running. And bears don't make a sound. But it's coming at him. And he turns around and he starts running. He's running, he's giving it everything he's got. Looks back and the bear just keeps getting closer and closer. And just as the bear is nearing him, in a last desperate moment, stops running, falls to his knees, puts his hands out, puts them together and says, "Dear Lord God, been to some church services. I really did try to be a decent person. And if you would just do this one thing for me, make this bear a Christian." Just silence. He realized he was alive. The bear had stopped coming at him. He looked over his shoulder. And it's just standing there in the path, awestruck. And it fell to its knees, and the ground shook, and the bear stuck out its mighty paws and then put them together and said, "Thank you, Lord, for this meal that I am about to receive." That's going to be the topic of today's sermon. It's going to be a sermon about how, the things that we worry about. Don't tend to be the things that really happen, or maybe the things that do happen can really come from unexpected places. And in this sermon, I'm going to be using as a text, as an example, a collection of songs by the American songwriter Jackson Browne. And I'm just curious here. I just got to know before I start this thing. Show of hands. Have any of us ever heard of Jackson Browne? Songwriter, okay, all right. From the 1970s through still alive today, still active. Okay, good. So some of us here, and as our reading, instead of a responsive reading, I'm going to I'm going to sing a Jackson Browne song to you, so that if there's anybody who's never heard of him, you'll at least have something. Unfortunately, not Jackson Browne himself. And I guess I could have put him on the screen, but we're going to do this other thing instead. Okay. Welcome to this place which we make holy by our presence. These doors are open to all. Bring your brokenness and your personal glow, your fatigue and your energy, your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, where the human is celebrated, where compassion is strength. Welcome to this place. Together, we make it a holy place. Please join me for the words of the chalice lighting, which are printed inside of your leaflet. Jackson, do you want to light the chalice while I read this? This is my son, who is named after Jackson Browne. I mean, literally. Yes, this thing right here. You can use the matches. You ever lit a match before?
No, sometimes.
Okay. You can even light it off the candle. All right. Okay, look, it's okay. You stick the match into this flame, and then you just touch it to this thing. Good?
Right.
Okay. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Please stand if you're able for hymn 361, and to rejoice and come in.
And to rejoice and come in, and to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day.
Here, let me.
So this is a reading from the book of Jackson Browne. The title song from his 1974 album, Late for the Sky. Now the words had all been spoken. Somehow the feeling still wasn't right. Still we continued on through the night. Tracing our steps from the beginning until they vanished into the air. Trying to understand how our lives had led us there. Looking hard into your eyes, there was nobody I'd ever known. Such an empty surprise to feel so alone. Now from me some words come easy. I know that they don't mean that much compared with the things that are said when lovers touch. You never knew what I loved in you. I don't know what you loved in me. Maybe the picture of somebody you're hoping I might be. Awake again, I can't pretend that I know I'm alone and close to the end.
of the feeling we've known. How long have I been sleeping? How long have I been drifting alone through the night? How long have I been running for that morning flight? Through the whispered promises and the changing light, on the bed where we both lie, late for the sky.
All right. No, thank you.
We may have a few people that don't know what we're talking about when we say honoring joys, and it's turned on. Can you hear in the back? Okay. We take a moment every Sunday morning to share any personal highs or personal lows, very briefly, that somebody might wish to share with the remainder of the people here today. There's no obligation to do this. People that haven't been here before are not necessarily expected to participate, but you certainly may if you wish. And the same thing goes for everybody else. But let's take a moment of silence first to allow you a time to consider whether there is anything that you'd like to share with the rest of the gathering this morning. So let's do that right now. And now, if there is someone or several people who have decided they have something they'd like to share with us, come up and do it. Please speak into the microphone and position yourself somewhere around here so that people on the Zoom can also see you as you make that pronouncement or that declaration of something important to you. And if you wish, you may light a candle and place it in the baptismal font. So if there's somebody who would like to do that, we have a first volunteer.
I would just like to announce that as of tomorrow, I am not an employer anymore. I'm a part-time employee.
You might want to light more than one. Is there somebody that can beat that? You don't have to beat it, but it's something that is very important to Teresa, and we know that she has been struggling with this for a long time, and it's nice to see she's getting some closure. Anyone else have a joy or a sorrow you'd like to share?
I'm just happy that a song I wrote was on the radio today. And Francie from Zoom has something to say.
Yeah, my daughter Sabrina's son and my grandson Ryan Mayhew turned 24 this week. Woohoo.
I'd like to light a candle for Dory Bartlett, who died this weekend, and it had been she had lived a life with joys, but many, many challenges, and she is at peace now. I'd like to light a candle for her. And I'd also like to light a candle for all the animals who benefited from Teresa's employment. Some of us have had pets that she has taken care of. And I know our dog's surgery will be certainly one of her memories. So I'd like to light a candle for all of our furry friends who have benefited from Teresa's work.
That would be quite a number. Is there anyone else that has one that they'd like to share with us? Either a joy or a concern? Well, I'll light a final candle for those that are unspoken. The offertory is next. Are you going to play it first or?
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow and the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close,
As I grow older, my bladder grows younger. It's like a puppy. It barks in the middle of the night. I have to get up, let it out, go back to bed. And then I lie there trying to get back to sleep. And the harder you push, the farther away it gets. And I'm lying there with some dark cloud of anxiety floating above my face. Like my resume is less impressive now than it was 20 years ago. I should have signed the kids up for karate class. I should have become friends with the rich kids in college because now they've inherited the earth. And lately I've been thinking, all of these anxieties, really, it's just one anxiety. And it tries on different masks until it scares me. And then I get so caught up in that anxiety that I can't get back to sleep. And then the next day I wake up feeling empty and incapable. It's a shape-shifting anxiety, self-fulfilling prophecy of doom. And when I'm feeling anxious, there's a record I sometimes reach for, Jackson Browne's 1974 album, Late for the Sky, where a thoughtful, sensitive 26-year-old singer-songwriter explores his worries in a cycle of songs, pondering and wandering. Many of the songs don't have refrains, just verses. It's not my favorite album of his. I'm more partial to The Pretender and I'm Alive. That was how I first encountered his music. As a 14-year-old in 1993, I saw an advertisement with a photograph of this handsome guy who looks kind of like my dad, emerging from water, and the ad announced an album called I'm Alive. And I blinked at it and wondered, did people think you were dead? I've never even heard of you. And the next day on my walk home from school, I stopped at a record store, found a Jackson Browne album for $1, heard his song, Disco Apocalypse, which was nothing like anything else he ever did. And then I accumulated all of his albums, one thrift store dollar at a time. We didn't have TV, so I would buy records for after-school entertainment. And each one of his albums was an episode in a series about this guy trying to figure out how to be Jackson Browne. Jackson Browne had broken through by writing hits. His song, Doctor My Eyes, had been covered by the Jackson 5. A song he'd abandoned halfway through writing, deciding it wasn't up to his standards, got picked up and finished by Glenn Frey. And the song, Take It Easy, launched the Eagles into global superstardom. And they tried to get him to join the band, but he wasn't interested in sharing artistic control. Anyway, he had written some hits, and he had more hits ahead, like Running on Empty and Somebody's Baby. But in 1974, nothing on Late for the Sky was trying to be a hit, and the record company didn't really bother with a single. 8 songs, most of them over 5 minutes, some of them without refrains to sing along with. Only 2 of the 8 could be considered love songs, one about realizing too soon that a love was doomed, the other about realizing it too late. Maybe they can't even be called love songs, since both songs encourage us to doubt our own emotions. An empty surprise, followed by the hollow sound of footsteps walking away. One of his worries at the time was the end of the world, which he contemplated while watching the horizon over a steering wheel. Can you see those dark clouds gathering up ahead? He wrote, they're going to wash this planet clean like the Bible said. Now you can hold on steady and try to get ready, but everybody's going to get wet. Don't think it won't happen just because it hasn't happened yet. He returns to the theme of an apocalyptic world flood on the album's closing song, Before the Deluge, in which survivors of the apocalypse are building communal shelters to raise their children. The lyrics of that song, which next year will be 50 years old, still sound futuristic, conjuring images of climate refugees trying to make sense of a catastrophe in which captains of industry reached for the skies and civilization lost everything. The destruction of the world would resurface in Browne's songwriting and political activism in the next decade, as he campaigned for nuclear disarmament and chronicled his concerns about an atomic holocaust. But let's not jump ahead yet. In the Late for the Sky song, Walking Slow, Jackson Browne ponders his own mortality, the end of his own life, and wonders if the world can go on without him. He says, I've got a thing or two to say before I walk on by. I'm feeling good today, but if I die a little farther along, I'm trusting everyone to carry on. He watches a pretty little girl running down the street with no shoes on, and he thinks of his wife. He says, sometimes we forget we love each other and we fight for no reason. I don't know what I'll do if she ever leaves me alone. In hindsight, it's an ominous moment. 2 years later, Jackson Browne's wife would die from an overdose of sleeping pills. Some said it was a suicide, and he lost some good friends who blamed him for it. He was left raising a 1-year-old son, picking up the pieces of a shattered life. And his next album, The Pretender, would be like a box of broken toys spilled on the floor, exploring his relationships with his parents and his son, his wife's ghost, whose footsteps echoed in the hall, the human race in general, and once again, trying to figure out what it means to be Jackson Browne in this unexpected new context. Like shifting clouds, his concerns changed forms. Some of the anxieties from Late for the Sky evaporated like a mirage. Some re-emerged later in other shapes. That's a future he could not see. And that's what keeps drawing me back to this album. A single entry in a diary where I can see where the story is going, but the storyteller can't. In another song from 1974, he wrote, "It could be I've lost my way, though I keep a watch over the distance. Heaven's no closer than it was yesterday, but the angels are older. They can see that the sun's setting fast, and they look over my shoulder at the visions of paradise contained in the light of the past. They lay down behind me to sleep beside the road till the morning has come, where they know they will find me with my maps and my faith in the distance, moving farther on." In the collection of songs in Late for the Sky, the troubadour is in motion. The distance leads me farther on, he says, whether walking slow or rolling away behind the wheel of a stolen Chevrolet, trying to figure out what his life is about. After the loss of his wife, in his next album, The Pretender, he's sitting down by the highway, watching cars flash by as others search for meaning and justification. The album ends with his decision to become a nameless nobody, the pretender, an anonymous automaton renting a house in the shade of a freeway. Of course, that's not what happened. Spoiler alert from 1977, the album Running on Empty finds Jackson Browne living on a tour bus, looking out at the road rushing under my wheels, looking back at the years gone by like so many summer fields. I don't know where I'm running now. I'm just running on. He's on an endless tour of towns that all look the same. He'll return to Standing Here by the Highway Side in 1993 with my personal favorite song of his, I'm Alive. where he contemplates wasted time and dreams that have died, but having survived it, he's ready to get moving again. I do have a slight connection with Jackson Browne. Elizabeth has a friend who once interviewed him. And approaching the dressing room, the journalist was stopped at the door by an assistant whose job it was to say, "Remember, don't touch his hair." And she thought, why would I try to touch his hair? But then during the interview, he kept pulling back. And she realized that her hand, of its own accord, kept reaching out toward his shiny, beautiful hair. So she came to understand the warning, and really his hair needed its own receptionist, with the endless exhaustion of holding back the inevitable tide of hands that want to touch him. Anyway, so a friend of my wife once almost touched Jackson Browne's hair. And I once got to help him with a song. Elizabeth and I saw him play a concert in Asheville, North Carolina, where he played requests, just nothing but requests. And at the end of it, he thanked us. He said, well, I'm so glad that you requested songs that I wrote. But I called out for a song of his called The Rebel Jesus, and while playing the first couple verses, after playing the first couple verses, he paused, momentarily unable to recall the opening line of the third verse. So I shouted out the first few words. He nodded and got back on track to finish the song. So I have this minor personal bond with him. And plus, Elizabeth and I did name our firstborn after him. That's where we got the name Jackson. Writing the songs that became Late for the Sky, 26-year-old Jackson Browne was really worried about his own mortality. He's now still alive at 74. He worried that he might witness an apocalyptic global flood in his lifetime. He still might, but it hasn't happened yet. And he worried that if his consciousness disappeared in death, all of reality might blink out of existence. We still don't know. The whole universe exists only in relation to Jackson Browne, and I don't look forward to when we find out. The opening stanza of the album, the song that I sang earlier, was, "Now the words had all been spoken, and somehow the feeling still wasn't right, and still we continued on through the night, tracing our steps from the beginning until they vanished into the air, trying to understand how our lives had led us there. Once upon a time, this world-weary 20-something felt that everything there was to say had already been said. Looming, unseen in the future, were devastating tragedies and also some triumphs. Sometimes I wake up with a panic attack, with phantasmic anxieties swirling overhead like a mobile over a cradle. And I get to thinking about this guy on his journey. And then I worry, what if it's too late for me to grow up to be Jackson Browne? Jackson Browne's journey to figure out how to be Jackson Browne has taught me things in my own journey to figure out how to be me. But you're not learning here to be him or to be me. What might this have to do with your lifelong journey to figure out how to be you? We worry, but the real life-changing events are the ones that we don't see coming. What we predict and prepare for can't change us. Something we know about the future: there will be loss. But something we know from the past, coping with loss, has strengthened us and taught us the deepest lessons about who we really are. Thank you. Please stand if you're able for hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard nights. If you cannot sing like the angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard nights.
Yes. Thanksgiving, we're going to have Thanksgiving here, and if there's a sign-up sheet in the narthex, and Betsy can take any details or any questions. So we sell Topps cards for the same price. The church makes 5%, but Topps has changed the process, and so we're going to have to change. We're only going to be doing it once a year at Christmas time. We'll be taking Topps gift card orders. I'll put more details in the announcements and the power line. Also, for this holiday, we're going to be collecting donations of yarn to give to Naja. She'll be making scarves and hats, and we will donate that at the holiday season. So we're going to collect yarn. We'll have a basket out in the narthex, just regular yarn, light colors, pinks, blues. I think we're going to be focusing on children. No dark colors like black or brown because Naja has trouble knitting. Also, I'm collecting articles for the power line. I sent a lot of people individual messages if they're interested in putting an article on the power line. I did want to know, I contacted Glenn and I asked him if he would write something about science. He sent me back a lot of questions and I answered a lot and back and forth, and he sent me an article and he said something about the New York Times. And I thought, oh, this is a very interesting article. I read it. I thought it was from the New York Times, beautifully written. And then he sent me back another email and apologized. He hadn't written an essay in a long time and sent me a bibliography. So this was his article he wrote. So you'll have to read it in the power line. I was very impressed. It's a very interesting article that he wrote. After service, there's going to be coffee hour, and then we're going to have religious education classes afterwards. Thank you.
John, were you going to do another one? I thought you said. Okay. But I'll just give this one a go because you requested it some time ago, and I only just got round to looking at it this morning. Put on your Sunday clothes when you feel down and out. Strut down the street and have your picture took. Dressed like a dream, your spirit seems to turn about. Nope, that wasn't the right note. Let me go back. Turn about. That Sunday shine is a certain sign that you feel as fine as you look. Look, see, I should practice in the morning. Beneath your parasol, the world is all a smile that makes you feel brand new down to your toes. Get out your feathers, your patent leathers, your beads and buckles and bows for this. Hold on, everybody. No blue Monday in your Sunday clothes. I'm not gonna do it.